Hi guys, so my name is Elina Quezada and this is my first ever YouTube video. I've been really nervous to do this. I've postponed this literally I don't know how many times, and I've actually wanted to do this since 2009. So just a quick rundown of who I am, what my story is. So I am now 31 years old, and I have had at this point I believe 11 surgeries. So I had a tibial fibula fracture back in 2009. It was a sports injury, and honestly I was 19 years old when it happened. So you know, teenagers, they break their leg, break bones all the time, and it's never really much more than that. But for whatever reason, unfortunately, my situation has been a little bit more complex than that. I've had, like I mentioned, a number of surgeries, and the issue really has never been rectified. For whatever reason, my bone kept breaking or wasn't healing all the way. So I've been in chronic pain ever since 2009. I'll have surgeries and the pain will go away for maybe a few months, and then it'll just come back like if it was, the issue was never actually solved in the first place. So I made some notes just to keep on track. So if you guys see me look away, it's because I'm looking at those notes. So the hardest part for me, I think, is starting this video. I think once I'm, more comfortable and I've gotten the awkwardness out of the way, I'll be like more comfortable doing this. But basically, like I mentioned, all these surgeries, and after basically almost 12 years of having this issue, and I've had doctor after doctor pass me on to another doctor, and hey, let me refer you to my colleague. I just keep getting passed on from doctor to doctor because they really just don't know what is wrong with my leg. They really don't know what to do to help me. And I feel, worked with some of the best doctors in my area, and they've been great. They've all been very helpful, and they just tell me, with much regret, like they don't know why my leg wasn't healing, why, I was having this much pain, why I was struggling the way I was struggling. Because on paper, I'm very healthy. Right now I've gained a lot of weight, but I don't have diabetes. I really don't have many things that can justify having such a big, issue. And the topic of my leg now for these 12 years have been the most prominent thing in my life. It's been the most difficult thing, I think. And it's been like I've been on a hamster wheel, and I just haven't been able to get off that hamster wheel. But back to earlier this year. So after 12 years of, fighting the good fight, there really didn't seem like there was many options and much more I could have done. I had an external fixator, and usually people have those for 3 months or so. I think maybe on a very extreme case, somebody's had it for a year. But I had mine, I was short of a full year by I think a week or two. I had almost had the external fixator, my first external fixator, for almost a whole year. It got to the point where it was I couldn't do anything. I was in so much pain. It was a lot smaller than the external fixator that I have now. I don't know if this angle will show my whole leg. But I'll be sure to enter pictures. I believe in my intro or my outro, I have some pictures of my first one and the one I have now. So my first one was to my knee, like this one. This one actually came up a little bit further up from my knee. There'll also be pictures added to show. But this one comes now. They removed the two side brackets that were over my knee. It made it really hard for me to bend my leg. But anyway, so the first one was this much of it, and I actually have the external fixator, so I could probably show that in one of these videos if that's something you guys were interested in seeing. I do have videos from I think it was 3 years ago. I don't know how long ago it was, for my other external fixator. So it is in here somewhere, where it just shows me doing physical therapy. So long story short, after I had been doing all this and I took that other external fixator, off. Before I took it off, I told my mom, who's like my confidant throughout all of this. I told her, you know, I just don't think this problem is being solved for whatever reason. Like, not that I had little faith or anything, but you just know your body. And I could tell, like, before, in the beginning, it seemed like, you know, different. I had never had anything like that. Then towards the end, it started feeling, you know, it was pretty painful, and it just felt something was off. And you know, I know how my leg feels when it's broken, because it's happened so many times at this point. Tell my mom, I think that bone is broken or whatever. I told the doctors my suspicions. He immediately ordered a CT scan, and the radiologist agreed that I believe he said at that point that it looked like the bone wasn't healed, like it never healed. Not that it was healed and it got broken again. No, that he believed it never healed properly. And I agreed with that. I felt like, you know, I wasn't in the bottom of my heart feeling like it worked for whatever reason. It sucked because, you know, this is something that this was hard for me. This is a very life-changing thing. So whatever, we took that off. It was like the next day, they were like, we got to take it off immediately. Like, so I went and I had that done. Then, of course, you know, it felt like for a couple years, like it was like, not like, oh, this is finally ending. It was like, what's the next surgery we're going to do? When are we going to plan this next surgery? And for me, it was like, I just wanted out, man. 12 years fighting this, doing this. I just felt like, and the word amputation had popped up here and there in the background of things since day one. Like, okay, well, I won't say, well, okay, yes, I take that back. Since day one, it was like I said, emergency surgery. So I was rushed into the hospital from the place I was at, the sports center I was at, and I went immediately in I believe it was the physician's assistant. I don't know, somebody, he spoke Spanish. So he told my family, like, this is the type of injury that you ultimately usually ends up in amputation. And they actually never told me that. They never told me that. They never mentioned that to me. I guess, you know, out of not wanting to have me to be fearful of that situation. But from 2009 up until, I mean, literally just this year, I had dreams on and off that I would like pull the sheet off from over me, and I would see literally like my leg would be amputated. That's not easy for anybody, but I felt in the bottom of my heart that was where this was going to end up at. And it's been so long that I had thought that I just felt like, you know, regardless of anything, I feel ultimately like this is where this is going to end up, because my situation didn't seem like it was changing. It wasn't healing. It wasn't progressing. So back on topic is that in June, I think it was June 7th of 2020. So my original break was in 2009. And after they removed the first external fixator, like I asked, you know, the doctor, like, what do we do from here? Like, you know, and he was telling me, you know, I have a couple options. And he mentioned that one of the first option was the same thing I had. So it was another external fixator and the same exact thing basically. Or that's option one, or amputation, a below the knee amputation. And he told me basically, okay, he told me if I did do the first option, which was not the below the knee amputation, it was the same thing, external fixator that will clean out the bone that was suspected to be infected, but never really came back infected up until very recently. That or below the knee amputation. But if I did the option one and it didn't work for whatever reason, I would still have to get an amputation. But this time, instead of it being below the knee, it would be above the knee. Like it would be a high above the knee amputation. So for me, it was like, if I've already done this once, I've already done all these things, and in the bottom of my heart, it didn't feel like it was going to work. Like that didn't feel like it was the answer for me. I said, you know, let me meditate this over. And I asked the doctor, you know, in his opinion, if he were in my situation, what he thinks he'd do. And he told me, honestly, you've been having this issue for so long. He's like, you know, I think I would probably go with the amputation, because it's quite a risk. It's quite a gamble what I'm attempting to gamble, basically, which is my whole entire knee. And he said it's a whole nother ball game, you know, being a below the knee amputee as opposed to an above the knee amputee. So in the bottom of my heart, I knew that what I was going to do was the amputation. It was just a matter of, well, let me go home and overthink this for a few months. And then I was at home. I think I literally told him, let me go home and overthink this or whatever, and I'll call in to schedule. I remember I left that day and I just felt so like, like defeated. Like, what is the point of this? Like, I came here, my childhood was not the most ideal situation. Like, I grew up, I had my family support, but there was a lot of things. And, I was one of those people that was like, oh, the day I turn 18, I'm leaving the house or whatever. So it felt like, dang, like, what was the point of all this? Like, why would somebody have to go through all this? Like, this is just like torture. And I remember I spoke it over with some friends, and I just came to the conclusion where I'm like, if I'm going to have eventually to have the amputation anyways, like, I might as well like speed up the process. I might as well just schedule this and just stop, like procrastinating this, because at this point, all I'm doing is procrastinating it. Like, I'm not buying any time. Like, there's not anything more positive aside from losing time that I'm going to gain from this. So I remember I told myself, I spoke it over with friends, and I was like, my most difficult thing is like, when am I going to schedule this amputation? So I thought about postponing it until September. Funny enough, now it's September. And I was like, I'm just going to postpone this for a little while so I don't waste my summer. And I had a really good friend and colleague at that time. She told me, she was like, honestly, she was like, why would you, postpone this? Like, and she mentioned that during the summer, it'd be more like summer's a happier time. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to waste my summer. But she's like, you're not going to be wasting your summer. You're going to be the same situation either way. It's like, I think she mentioned something like in Seattle, the depression rates is like the highest because people don't get vitamin D. They don't go outside. They don't get sun. She was telling me, like, if you do this now, you can recover in the summer and start afresh. Like, that new year would be like a new start for you. And I remember, like, I thought about it. She was like, even just sitting outside, in your rocking chair, like getting fresh air, like even that can help you heal. And I'm like, I think she's right. So I just remember, without really much thought, like, I talked it over with, like I said, my two friends of mine, who I very, very much value their opinions with things like this. And my family, especially particularly my mom, like, we're from, the Caribbean. Like, this is not something like that is like, they don't understand that. They don't understand why somebody would do this to themselves. Like, it's like, why would you willingly, cut your leg off? Like, why would you do that to yourself? And I remember my dad was saying that he knew somebody, and he was like, oh no, don't do it. Like, they try to get people to do that, and and I'm like, they're not trying to get me to do that. Like, I'm electing to do this because I'd rather, if it came to it, like, I'd rather have, first of all, let me say this. I lived a very active lifestyle. I was very I like to be everywhere, I like to travel, do this, do that. So for me, somebody would have told me, like, you'd just be sitting at the house most days. You couldn't even walk from here to the stop sign to walk your dog. Like, I would have been like, no, like, I can't. That's not something I would have ever imagined for myself. So my dad was like, you can just stay like that. Like, and I'm like, no, I'm electing to do this because I want to have my life back. Like, I want an active lifestyle. I want to do my thing. Like, I don't want to be stuck at the house. Just, oh, can you hand me my walker? Can you hand me my crutches? Like, that's not what I envisioned for myself. So nobody, and I try to explain it to them, I would do this for a better quality of life. Not because a doctor told me, which no doctor ever told me to do this. They just said this is an option, which they're to present every option. So long story short, I decided, my mind was made, I'm going to have this amputation. As hard as it was for me to come to that decision, I had somewhat made peace with it. So my amputation scheduled. From day one, my mom was saying, she didn't believe that I was going to do it. And I had asked her, like, what dates, like, try to come up with a date for her that would work good for her job. And she really didn't think I would do it. And I told her, look, like, if you don't, work with me on this, I'm just going to schedule this and I'll just tell you when it's scheduled. And she didn't think I would do it. So I did it. And I came back to her the next day. I want to let you know my amputation is set for this date. I think it was about a week before my amputation was scheduled. I got a message from the doctor's office, and they mentioned to me like, hey, you know, we actually been doing research and we wanted to talk to you about a new procedure, a new option that just became available. Can you come in? And they were like, okay, never mind, we see your schedule tomorrow for your you know, pre-operation appointment for your below the knee amputation. And I went in my head, I was like, there's nothing they're gonna ever be able to tell me at this point, after I made peace with the fact that I was gonna have an amputation, to change my mind. Nothing is gonna change my mind. So I had that mindset. I'm like, there's nothing they can tell me. Like, I'm not doing it. Like, I'm not gonna keep playing with this anymore. Like, I just want out of this situation. I'm like, come January, I want to be, you know, living a new life. Then I go to the appointment, and still in the appointment, my mind is made up. Like, there's nothing they're going to tell me that's going to change my mind at this point. I let the doctor listen, you know, I heard the doctor. I let him tell me, you know, what was going on and why he thinks this would be a good opportunity, and it's very effective. And I'm like, yeah, like, whatever. So, okay, I heard him out, and he mentioned, you know, you don't have to make a decision about this right now. No, this is pretty, like, out of nowhere. Think about it and let me know. So I left from that doctor's office, and I was still scheduled for an amputation. I was like, you know, I wasn't going to change it. Then I came home, and here's my ultra Catholic Caribbean, you know, mom, and she's like, oh, like, you know, I knew God was going to intervene in this situation. Like, I knew it was, you weren't going to have this amputation and this and this. And I'm like, you know, like, don't get too excited, because I may not even do it. I may just still go with the amputation. Then I went to sleep that day, and I don't know if it was like, it was literally like a switch. Like, it went from absolutely no way, on God's green earth am I going to do this, to I was like, maybe I should give this a try. I don't know what changed, but it was like God changed my heart. Like, he changed my mindset. Like, I said, you know, I might as well just give this a try. Like, before, I had never tried anything else, because I felt like there was nothing new being brought to the table. Like, nothing, it was just the same thing over and over, and I'm not going to keep doing the same things and expecting different results. Like, so I remember it was I think that was around my birthday, and I'm like, oh my God. And I was telling these people, I'm like, I literally think I'm gonna just do this. Like, I'm just gonna try it. And I'm like, I feel like I will regret not trying it, like, and looking back and being like, dang, what if I would have did this? Like, what if this, you know, would have worked? Like, I almost felt like it was worth a last ditch effort to keep my leg. So I was like, okay, I let the doctor's office know. I said, I think I'm going to try this new procedure or whatever. So I was scheduled for the amputation on the 7th. Then there was a delay with COVID, and the materials getting sent there on time. So it had to be postponed. I think it was another week. So I did that. So right now what I have is not just external fixator, but I have the new procedure, which I think at the moment the doctor told me about it had only been performed in, I believe it was Miami and New York or Manhattan. And so I was the first person in North Carolina to have this procedure, and this doctor is amazing. So I know I was in good hands, and I know that he would do basically whatever he had to do in his, you know, he could do within his power to make this work for me. I know that doctor's office didn't want me to lose my leg. Like, they've just been so good to me or whatever. So yeah, so I tried it. This is where I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be back for the rest. Okay, so I'm back. So as I was mentioning, this is where this surgery had only been performed in Miami and in New York. So I was pretty nervous. I felt like it was going to be like, I was going to be some sort of guinea pig or whatever. But whatever, I tried it. So this is where I am now. Though I had a previous external fixator, it was nothing like this external fixator. This external fixator was more intense. So what they did was they pretty much cleaned out the bone suspected of infection, and they put this, and I screw it every day. And I'll talk more, I'll elaborate more on that on the next video. But basically, it was crazy pain. It was like It was really this was definitely the biggest procedure I've had, and I signed over whatever waivers if they needed, if they wanted to record or needed pictures, since this was, you know, like a new thing. I said they're welcome to have whatever I can do, you know, my part to help. So that was that. And like I said, I'll mention more about that. So let me look at my notes real quick. So that's a quick background on my story. And okay, so that's a quick background on my story. I'll elaborate more on that, like I mentioned, in upcoming videos. So why am I doing this? And what do I hope to gain out of this? So I'm doing this because I felt like this was something, honestly, that God wanted me to talk about. I felt like almost in a sense, he wanted me to be used as his testimony, like, of his goodness. I wasn't always, okay, I was brought up in a very Catholic, you know, strict Spanish home, but I was what you would call a lukewarm Catholic or Christian, whatever, my whole entire life. Like, I knew God was there. I knew he existed. I didn't know how to talk to him. And I almost sort of resented him for a lot of situations in my life, including my leg. And I just never tapped into that power on my own. Like, my family would do, oh, you got to trust, you got to pray, you got to believe. But I never honestly understood the power that he can have over your life. So I'm hoping to bring, from the patient's perspective, what this surgery is like, what you can expect, what your life's going to look like, mobility, like my personal interest. Just, this will be like a safe zone. This hopefully could help other people heal as well as myself heal, because as everybody can probably relate, and during these trying times, like, me just as well as probably everybody else on this planet has had issues with mental health, and it's just been difficult. It's been very depressing. Like, I never understood what anxiety really was up until the last year, I would say, or so. Like, I would have anxiety about anything. Like, oh, I'm having a doctor's appointment. Like, it was crazy. Like, I didn't get how debilitating that was. I was working from home, and I can elaborate more on that too on upcoming videos. So I'm just very limited to what I can do. I can't say, oh, I'm going to go, you know, take a job here or there. Like, I'd have to be at home where I can have my leg elevated, where I don't have to worry about business casual dress code, because I can't find anything that would fit over this, you know, fixator basically. So another thing too is like how I dress, what type of clothes I get, what assistive walking devices, all of those type of things are the type of content I want to make, including like vlogging on my appointment days, and just anything I think that can help other people. So it would be, like I said, I haven't seen, before I had this surgery, I YouTubed, I'm like, oh, I want to see, you know, like videos on external fixators or the tibial bone transport. But since it was such a new procedure, like, it was nothing available. There was nobody talking about it from the patient's perspective. There was doctors that had the surgery and stuff like that, but I didn't see a patient talking about the struggles and all this and this that comes with external fixator and the tibial bone transport. Now there's officially a second person in North Carolina, which is cool, because me and her, I mean, we can bond over, nobody knows what this is and nobody knows how to deal with it. Like, we've just been figuring it out on its own. So I just really I feel like somebody needs to hear this, and I really want to be that person that if somebody does have questions, if this is a procedure that they may possibly be, you know, on the fence about doing or whatever, like, that they can have somebody they can reach out to. Like, I want to do a blog too about my story, because everywhere I go, like, people stop me like, hey, you know, what happened to your leg? Like, this isn't this. Like, and people want to know. People are very intrigued. Every time I go to the hospital, somebody asks me, like, you should start a blog. Like, you should write a book. Like, you should do, you know, videos about this. Like, this is so interesting. Like, people would, like, love to hear about your story. Like, so, like I said, I've wanted to do this, but I scared myself out of doing it for years, because I'm like, oh, like, I've gained so much weight, or oh this, or oh that. Like, it's never going to be perfect. Like, even now, I was so worried about how this scene would look, that I stopped myself from doing this. Like, it's not about how this video looks, it's what I'm saying in this video and how it can help other people like overcome the uncertainty. I'm not licensed in any way to be talking about or giving any type of advice, but what I am here to say is, if there's anybody else going through anything like this or anything, like, I just hope this becomes a very positive environment when people can help out. Like, I can do, like, if there, I'll link my my handles and stuff, my email, if people have questions or just they need somebody to talk to or whatever, I'll be happy to do that. Like, I don't know, this is like the most real and raw thing I've ever done, and putting yourself out there it's really difficult because you don't know what you're gonna get out of people. You don't know if people are gonna like this. You don't know how it's gonna be perceived. But I really just want the message to be clear. Like, I want to be some type of a beacon of hope, like, because I know the difference that being hopeful has made in my life. And yes, this procedure, there's still a chance that this procedure won't work. Still a chance that I'll do all this and I'll still have to have an amputation. But I have peace in knowing that it was just the light bulb switch that changed once I told myself, like, I'm going to remain at peace with my life until said time. Like, I'm not gonna be having anxiety every day thinking like, oh, did I make the wrong choice? And yeah, I literally question this every day because of the pain. Just everything is so elaborate. Like, I have to tighten my screws every day. Like, it's crazy. And I honestly want to give up most days, but I keep thinking, like, at the end of all this, like, I'm gonna have so much more knowledge and wisdom going out of this than I had coming in this. And I saw something that said, like, just trust God's plan for your life. Like, everything has a purpose. So I feel like I want to believe that something of this story is like, this is in a certain, sense, has something to do with my purpose in life. Because I felt like I lost it all. Like, I lost my friends. Like, I couldn't continue doing my job. Like, I felt very directionless. And in a sense, I still sort of am. So that's why I'm saying this is also going to be healing for myself, as well as hopefully can help somebody else. So my mental health struggle, like I mentioned, my vlogs, I can talk about my activities, how I have things set up for me that will work for me. I have a service dog. I don't know where she's at. But I can insert pictures of her. She's adorable. She literally goes with me every time I have surgery and I'm inpatient. My parents will take her for a couple hours. So she is literally a legit service dog. I know people question it because she's not, your typical golden retriever or German shepherd. Like, she's tiny. She's a small Maltese. But I just want to start this off on the note that I'm doing this. I'm not going to continue, scaring myself out of this. I know a first video for anybody isn't perfect and it's literally super cringe for the most part, but I want to do this. So on that note, like I said, I have a newfound belief, like, God awoke something in me that I didn't know I had access to. Like, praying makes such a difference. And honestly, I can see if I can try to link down some of the videos. Some of them are videos in Spanish, which I feel like, okay, so Joel Austin, some of these Spanish videos, there's another YouTube channel called, I think, Grace for a Purpose, which has made a life-changing difference, in my opinion. There's one particular video that I'll link that I played over and over and over, back to back, when I was still under the assumption I would have the amputation. And it really kind of just helped me get by. But talking about that, so I would like to grow this channel. Hopefully, we'll see where it takes me. But I want to give my subscribers something that I had. It's a little mustard seed in a bottle. It's so cute. And basically, the meaning behind this is the parable of the mustard seed. So I'll just sum it up, and I can add the quote in the description. It says something like, all you need is faith the size of a mustard seed. and your wildest dreams and imagining. You can move mountains with faith the size of a mustard seed. So as you can see, I don't know how well this is going to zoom in. It is tiny. I mean, literally, this is the bottle. Just the mustard seed is the smallest seed in the world. And this is the cool part. Once you sow it and you reap it. So if you sow God's word and you're like, you know, they say you reap what you sow, I believe. I don't know how you pronounce it. But basically, you get what you give. So you would give this little, that's all I had. I had probably that amount of faith when they said this new surgery. I was like, oh, it's not going to happen. Like, no way. So the mustard seed is the smallest plant in the world, and it grows to be the biggest plant in the world. So that says something. So I want to give this one of these little bottles with the seed to, I don't know, the first couple people that subscribe. So maybe the first 100 subscribers. We'll see how far that goes. I would like to give this to the subscribers. So as many as I have until I run out. So I definitely urge you to subscribe and give me any suggestions about what you want to see, what you want to do. Maybe I could do a Q&A live, just anything. I want to do this. Like I said, I want to help people, and in helping other people, I know this is going to help me find purpose in my life and in this journey. So I think that's about it. That's all I can think of. I feel like a weight lifted off my shoulders doing this. Hold on. Okay, so I feel like the most awkward part was starting it and ending it. So thanks for listening. I hope you guys stayed the whole video. Let me know if you have any questions. Like I said, I have a P.O Box. So I'll put my P.O Box. I'll put my email, and I'll just link everything. And once I get my blog going, I'll also link that. Just let me know if you guys have any questions. Thank you for your time.